The violence between Israel and the militant group Hamas showed no signs of slowing on Tuesday, despite U.S. and other global efforts to stop the region's fiercest hostilities in years. Gaza health officials said the Palestinian death toll has risen above 200 people after more than a week of Israeli airstrikes and artillery fire. Within Israel, 10 people have also lost their lives. The United States on Monday said it had encouraged a ceasefire in phone calls with Israel. But President Joe Biden is facing growing pressure from lawmakers in his own Democratic Party to play a more vocal role. He's spoken with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu 3 times since the violence began. Biden has strongly defended Israel's right to defend itself from Hamas, which the U.S. calls a terrorist organization.
Israel fired shells towards Lebanon in response to rocket launches as U.S. President Joe Biden asked Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to agree to a ceasefire after a week of violence that has killed more than 200 people in Gaza. 6 shells were fired from Lebanon towards northern Israel on Monday, but fell short of crossing the border, the Israeli military said. There were no reports of casualties or damage, and the shelling did not appear to signal the opening of a new front in Israel's fighting with militants in the Gaza Strip. The Lebanese shelling caused Israeli air raid sirens to blare near the kibbutz of Misgave-Am, along Israel's northern border with Lebanon. It is the second time rockets have been launched from Lebanese territory towards Israel since hostilities flared between the Jewish state and armed Palestinian groups in the Gaza Strip last week.
Well, at least 14 people have been killed in India after a powerful cyclone battered the country's west coast. Cyclone Tauktae left a trail of destruction as heavy rains and storm surges damaged structures and toppled trees and power lines. Around 200,000 people were evacuated to storm shelters from low-lying areas. India's Navy is searching for scores of people missing after one ship sank and another lost power due to the storm.
Well, this particular barge in the sea we're talking about, reportedly there were 273 people on board. And according to the latest reports, about 146 have been rescued. The operations are ongoing. Helicopters have also been involved. And according to some sources in the Navy, in some reports, there might be a lot of people adrift in the sea. So they're trying to track them down as well.
Well, the international scheme set up to ensure equal access to vaccines is currently 140 million doses short, and that's due to the continuing crisis in India. Now UNICEF is calling for the powerful G7 countries, the leaders of which will meet in the UK next month, to share their surplus of doses.
It's a global collaboration that's never been tried on this tight timescale before. The aim of the Covax scheme is to ensure all people in all countries get equal access to vaccines to protect them against COVID-19. Some progress is being made, but doses remain vastly unevenly distributed. And now the pipeline providing vaccines to some of the world's poorest countries is being squeezed.
Around 5,000 migrants have entered Spain's North African enclave of Ceuta, some swimming almost 2 kilometers along the coastline from neighboring Morocco. One man drowned in the crossing during a record one-day influx of people to the territory. Ceuta is one of 2 populated Spanish enclaves on mainland Africa. Authorities are sending security reinforcements to the area amid worsening relations between Spain and Morocco.
It started in the early hours of the morning. Groups of young men made the risky swim from Morocco to the neighbouring Spanish territory of Ceuta. Exhausted, they then reported to authorities for processing. As the day went on, the tide dropped, exposing an easy path around the border wall. That allowed whole families and minors to try the crossing, some even resorting to an inflatable boat. It's the biggest arrival of migrants ever seen in Ceuta. More than 1,000 children were said to be among the new arrivals.
Well, it looks like it's going to be a dark winter. Eskom says load shedding will probably continue in the evenings. That's from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. for the next few months.
That is still the case indeed. In the evening, we will implement, starting at 5 o'clock, stage 2 load shedding until 2 p.m. And thereafter, the week looks much better. We have some additional generation units returning to service. So we do not anticipate, as things stand, that we will have to implement load shedding again. However, as you know, things can change at very short notice.
Historic legislation to allow voluntary assisted dying will be introduced into State Parliament next week. The Premier says the issue is beyond politics, and MPs from both major parties will be allowed to vote with their conscience when the bill is debated in September.
The choice for dying Queenslanders to end their life on their terms is a step closer.
The time is right. The time is right, and Queenslanders have spoken. They have raised this issue with me.
The draft laws by the Queensland Law Reform Commission are designed to limit the suffering of those with 12 months to live.
This is such an important piece of legislation. This is such a historic reform.
This is not about suicide. This is about voluntary assisted dying.
The US Supreme Court has said that it will reconsider the landmark 1973 ruling Roe v. Wade, which had effectively legalized abortions across the country. The hearing will start in October this year and will conclude in June 2022. The judges are expected to deliberate on whether states can ban abortions before a fetus can survive outside the womb. Scrapping of Roe v. Wade would mark a major rollback of abortion rights that could reverse nearly 50 years of rulings. The case involves a Republican-backed Mississippi law that would prohibit abortions after the 15th week of pregnancy. It challenges legal abortions in the country. This deliberation has been one of the long-standing goals of religious conservatives in the United States.